Ladies and gentlemen, we are here. This is a special episode, a special review. I don't know if this is technically Dark Powerrr or Round Table. It's the digital round table, if anything. But we are here to cover NWA's pay-per-view, Back for the Attack. They are back. This is their first show in months. This is their first new show, their first live. Or as live can be these days. But they're their first new show in a very long time. They had a episode of Power that was called Super Power. They were building towards the anniversary show. It was going to be Marty Scurll versus Nick Aldis for the NWA Worlds Championship. We could not get that match, and one of the last Powers that was supposed to air before that, they decided to give that one away because of how much it highlighted Camille, who is going to be one of their big people moving forward in the women's division. But here we finally, we had some NWA stuff with the UWN, the United Wrestling Network. But now we finally have NWA coming back. They are in the Georgia studios, and here we are to cover it. So whenever it's a pay-per-view, we want to try to do something special. We want to do something bigger. It's not just a regular thing of Dark Powerrr. And so that's why joining me today, we have my normally this is not Review of Honor. Don't get it a mistake. You might think it's Review of Honor. You might be, what did I click on? Did I click on the wrong thing? You did not. You clicked on this NWA review of Back for the Attack. But I have my Review of Honor co-host with me, the three-time baby-making champ. This is Ness. Sir, how are you doing this evening?
Doing mighty fine, man. And thank you. I'm honored to be here on your baby, one of your platforms, the True Hill Heat YouTube channel. And yeah, man, this was a great show. Surprisingly satisfying. I'm not really frequent NWA viewer, but this definitely was something that piqued my interest, and it was a great show. So I was overall satisfied with how everything played out. Very, very thoroughly entertained.
Yeah, and we were having some scheduling issues. We may be joined by our faithful leader Sid. We will see if we can do that. I was gonna say for his intro, if I'm the man, I'll just give him the intro in case he shows up. If I'm the man of 1,004 numbers, he is the man of 1,005 shows. So I can only understand why his schedule is so busy. He's a very in-demand person. So just as he is in demand, so was the demand for the NWA to come back. And here they are. We got these match announcements. There wasn't that much build for these matches. In some situations, we were kind of left with our heads scratching, like, why are certain people getting certain opportunities? So let's just start off straight off with one of the big things that was kind of an anchor piece for the whole show, and that was that Jocephus, who was also the question mark for those who didn't know, he recently passed away. He had just from what I understand, it was an illness, a medical condition, non-COVID related, but he passed away, and because of that, the show is dedicated to him, and that explains our main event, which is his tag team partner of Aron Stevens taking on Nick Aldis for the 10 pounds of gold. But the pay-per-view itself started with a fatal four-way match. We had Crimson facing off against Jordan Clearwater, facing off against Jax Dane, and of course, our very own Chris, True Pot Heel Chris. I guess maybe we have a pot heel here with us. Maybe he can tell us about, maybe if you indulge a little too much, like Popeye with the spinach, then maybe Chris turns into Slice Boogie, and that's what we have happening here. I don't know. I don't partake. That is the True Pot Heels. That is their thing. But in this fatal four-way match, we had a lot of action for a match that is under 6 minutes. That's one thing to lead off with. I thought this was a pretty good way to lead off a pay-per-view. I liked how everybody got their little moments in there. We saw this is actually two people who are part of the team. Crimson and Jack Stane form the War Kings, and they are former NWA Tag Team Champions. If my memory serves me right, they ended up losing the titles to Villain Enterprises, if I remember right. But they are former tag champions, and they highlighted that in the match itself, where they knew each other very well. They knew their moves very well. Commentary picked it up and was talking about it. But after this 5 minutes and 41 seconds, we do have a winner, and it is Slice Boogie picking up a very big win. We've seen Slice Boogie on the UWN. We've seen him on AEW on episodes of Dark. So great for him to get a win here. Ness, what did you think about this match?
Man, I actually enjoyed it. This set the tone for me for the rest of the show. A lot of action. I like the underlining stories, like you said, Jax Dane, and Crimson. Crimson's pretty much the only person that I'm actually familiar with from his time in TNA. I know a little bit of Jax Dane. Jordan Clearwater is a new person for me, but I'm definitely going to be on the lookout for him. And Slice Boogie, man, that's the most New York wrestler in my life. Not only was he wrestling in Mets tights, he was also wrestling in foam sights. A huge hit in the sneaker community, and specifically in New York. So, but yeah, there's definitely a lot of action, and the fact that it was like just under 6 minutes or just about 6 minutes, it didn't even feel like it went by that fast, man. It was just like so much going on. Again, the War Kings reuniting in this match. They had a little bit of a standoff at first, but eventually these guys come around and they start working together. Even though this every man for himself, they still had to put a little bit of a tag team some work in. Again, I'm going to look out for Jordan Clearwater. I believe he's actually been in New Japan Strong as well.
Yes, he has.
I actually also believe, I think Slice Boogie might have been in New Japan Strong as well too. So yeah, man, I enjoyed it. I would give the opener a solid 3 stars. Actually, no, I'll go 3 1/4 because I think everybody worked well. The match flowed perfectly, and it was the guy from New York won. So I'm all for that. I'm not a Mets fan whatsoever, but I love his sneakers. So yeah.
You know that a wrestler is definitely from New York when his finisher is called the Dead Ass Driver.
The tights, the shoes, the name of the finisher.
He's also God, I forget what the move is, but I think it's like it's like a version of Old School, Undertaker's Old School, but he doesn't walk the ropes. He's just from the top rope. He's holding the person's arm, then he comes down with a clothesline. But it's something to do with the name is a play off of Statue of Liberty, if I remember right, because he did that in UWN and they were talking about that. But yeah, definitely one of the most New York wrestlers to ever ever lace up a pair of boots. He is giving Eddie Kingston a run for his money for sure. But if we were all very happy about how the pay-per-view started, we then got a little sad about how it kind of came to a screeching halt. And this seems weird because the previous match is 5 minutes and 41 seconds, and this match is 7 minutes and 27 seconds. Felt like it was an hour long, but it wasn't. It was only 7.5 minutes. We have Tyrus taking on JR Kratos. So JR Kratos is one half of the current tag team champions with Aron Stevens. He was the substitute for Question Mark when Aron Stevens and Question Mark had a tag title opportunity. And he is taking on Tyrus, who decided to take a break from being on Fox News and Fox Nation, their special subscription service. So, yeah, that felt a little weird. but not as weird as Tyrus's lungs felt after this match, because within 3 of the 7.5 minutes, he was already blown up. He came in looking, he did not look, I guess it's difficult to say that he came in not looking in shape, because Tyrus was always been a big guy. Like, that's always been the thing for him, or been the look for him. But he looked worse than he should have, by far. Like, it didn't look as though there was muscle under there. It just looked as though you really let yourself go. You just let yourself go. And this was, I don't know if I agree with you. I would give the previous match about 3 stars. This one, I don't know if I could give this, like, I would maybe give this like a 1. And I feel bad because, like, JR Kratos tried. but Tyrus just looked really out of place, out of sync. I don't know if this is really one of his first matches back in a while, but if it was, it should not have been on pay-per-view. I don't know really what Billy Corgan was thinking. Like, if he was thinking Tyrus would be a draw, like, I don't know what the thought process there. I'd love to know what it was. I'd love to hear what exactly the idea was to bring in Tyrus, but it did not work. It to the point that after Tyrus wins this match, which in and of itself seems incredible, after he wins the match, he does come to the ring with his old Funkasaurus chain. And he has hung up the chain on one of the corner posts. The crowd is yelling at him like, "You still suck, you still suck." Just because you won doesn't mean anything. And they do a close up on his face, and I don't know. Instead of trying to just engage with the crowd or anything like that, he just like grabs his chain, manages to grab his chain, put it on, breathing heavily, and just like glares at the crowd and just like stumbles off like he's looking for where is the exit. Like, he was so blown up and he could not breathe properly that he couldn't do proper heel work and engage with the crowd, which I don't know, like that. We shall, spoiler, I guess, for those who haven't watched Power yet, he is going to be on this week's episode of Power. But, Ness, I'm giving this one 1 star. What did you think about it?
I'll give it 1.5 solely, and this all is going to JR Kratos. The match had some sort of psychology to it because Kratos' arm, his elbow was injured. And Tyrus focused in on the elbow. So I will give him credit for that and that alone. He looked terrible in this fucking match. He was definitely blown up, gassed as soon as the match started. He never got around to actually like looking like he belonged in the ring. It was just bad, and I feel bad for Kratos because he was making this match go. Like, he was the glue to this match, and it just sucked that, you know, all his efforts were pretty much for nothing because Tyrus, like I said, was just so blown up and out of shape and was just huffing and puffing, like, you know, lagging around the ring, just looking terrible, you know, and it sucks because it was, you know, a major, their first pay-per-view back, a major show, all this hype around it. And for, like you said, for whatever reason, Tyrus was brought in, maybe to get views from the people that watch him on Fox News, possibly, who knows. But yeah, that after seeing that, they probably won't want to watch him ever again in a wrestling ring, just like I don't ever want to see him again in a wrestling ring. So yeah, 1.5 stars, and that's all for Kratos. I'm sorry. I would have probably given you more, but yeah, Tyrus fucked up that match poorly.
Yeah, if there's one thing we can take away is that Tyrus really needs to call his mom. Like, after that, that was just, oof. That or cardio. Like, if you cardio while calling your mom, maybe, I don't know, like, think about it, just it's an idea. But after this, we have business picks up a little bit, and from here on out, the pay-per-view is actually really good. It does a nice little incline towards our main event. We have moments. We have good moments. And those moments start off with Pope taking on Thomas Latimer in a nice match that's going to be for a television title. Now, the commentators did talk about this. They did it very briefly, though. So I'll give a little bit more backstory for this. The television title matches, when they're on Power, there was a time limit of 6 minutes and 5 seconds. The reason being that Power aired at 6:05 p.m. because the show is technically broadcast from an actual TV station. Like, they're filming it at a TV station, a local TV station in Georgia, and that was their time slot. Their time slot actually started at 6:05. So because of that, the TV title has 6 minutes and 5 seconds for the time limit. Now for this match, because I don't know if it's because it's pay-per-view or because of just for whatever reason they're trying to get away from that 6:05. This match has 10 minutes and 5 seconds for the time limit. Now, this is going to be important because this match is going to go to a time limit draw, and our titles do not change hands on time limit draws. So retaining his television title is Elijah Burke, is the Pope. This was a really good match. Thomas Latimer is Bram from, if you remember him as Bram from his TNA. He is a very good talent. Pope, we know who Pope is. We know how he moves in the ring. For somebody who has had a long storied career, he still can go. He still has the ability to keep pace with younger people. And this was a good match. I gave this match about 2.5 stars. Just because there wasn't as much action as the opener, but the opener, all 4 guys also knew we only have 6 minutes. Let's try to get as much as we can into this match. But the storytelling that I thought it was very good here. Thomas Latimer trying again and again to try to get this pinfall. He knows he has the time limit, and I think what would have helped was they did put the time limit down at the bottom and they had it counting, but I think just drawing more attention to it, and they didn't. To me, I felt as though they didn't draw attention to it until the very end, and I think like just reinforcing that throughout the match, because then you start to see Tom Latimer, like you understand how he knows he has to keep picking it up, and to what we're saying about Pope, while he is older, still able to keep up. Pope's mentality is slowly, as the match keeps going, I just have to survive. And survive he does. He does retain his title. I gave this one 2.5. Ness, what did you think?
I gave this match 2 3/4. I actually enjoyed the fact that they put the time limit on there. I appreciate the fact that, like you said, the show aired at 6:05. So I never knew, or I wasn't aware that the TV title matches were scheduled to be 6 minutes and 5 seconds long. I think that's interesting. The fact that they gave them more time because this pay-per-view was even better. I liked the finish, the fact that it came down to a time limit draw, because both these guys, they were definitely putting in work in this match. You know, neither one wanted to take the loss, and they were going throughout the whole match, you know, trying to be superior to their opponent. So I like the fact that neither person had to take the loss, and they both fought to the time limit draw. I think that makes better for the story, so they can continue it if they want to. Again, you know, the champion retains. He retained in a fashion that I don't think he was happy with him winning due to time limit draw. I think both guys would rather have a definitive victory over the other person. So I think they just leave a little bit left there for it if they want to pick it up, which at this point I think they should, because these guys, again, it could have been a little bit more action, but for what it was, I think they did well. So 2 3/4 stars. I want to see. I'm going to keep an eye on this story to see if they do pick it back up, because I think it was a good match.
I think they will. The main event of Power ends up being a 6-man tag match involving Latimer and Pope. So I think they will be continuing that slowly but surely. I think they can kind of drift away and come back to it. But something that they're not going to drift away and come back to, that's going to be moving full steam ahead, is our women's championship picture. And this match is something that we have been building towards for a very, very long time. When the reason why, so when the pandemic started, they ended Powerrr, saying we're going to hold off because we don't know if we're going to be able to have that pay-per-view. We're not going to bother airing these episodes. We're going to keep them in the tank and hold on to them. As we got closer to a realization that the pandemic was not going to be a short-term thing, they said, all right, we're going to air this one episode of Powerrr, Super Powerrr, and we kind of were like, okay, what exactly is the reason why? Well, they had been building a storyline where Camille did not ever talk. She refused to speak. And there was a question of, can she speak? Like, why does Nick Aldis speak for her? Why does Tom Latimer speak for her? Why does she never speak for herself? And the point, and we had also never seen her in the ring. The point of Super Powerrr was to have her debut match and was to have her speak. And after that match, after seeing her and seeing her talk and her in-ring work, I said back then on Dark Powerrr that when they have the match with Thunder Rosa, it's going to be very good because Camille has the ability to work pretty well. She's still green, but when you put her in the ring with somebody like Thunder Rosa, who can carry probably anybody in the world to a good match, you are going to get something special. And we see that just how with AEW they're focusing on, they're going to be building that women's division around Jade Cargill. We have seen that NWA has building this division around Camille, and her history with NWA dates back to the fact that Aldis felt that the reason he lost the NWA title to Cody at All In was because Brandy was there. And so he said, I need an insurance policy of my own, and he went and got Camille. That's the storyline reason for why Camille is there. And so when he and Cody have the 2 out of 3 falls rematch at the 70th anniversary show, that's the reason why Aldis wins, because Camille is now there. Camille neutralizes Brandy. So they've slowly been telling this story over time, and now we get to see that story start to really play out. This match is, at this point in time, the longest match on the card, 14 minutes and 4 seconds, and it earns every single moment of it. This is a really, really good match. I would say this and the main event are the 2 matches you definitely have to see if you are going to check out anything from this pay-per-view. Obviously, avoid the Tyrus match. But if you're going to see things, watch the Camille and Thunder Rosa match. I gave this one a solid 3 stars. Thunder Rosa did really well in this match to hide Camille's, like, she's still green. She's still learning. There's still things that she has to improve upon. But her ability is clearly there. And there are moments where, and it works because she is a natural athlete. She is, like, obviously she's built. So for her finisher to be a spear, for her to be using those power moves, everything just works. Everything makes sense for who she's supposed to be. And in this match, you have the height difference. You have the size difference. They use it. Rosa's using her speed. It's that classic, what happens, the faster person can hit you multiple times, but if that power person gets one hit in, it changes the game. And that's what Thunder Rosa finds out. Camille does hit that spear on her at the very end. It's wicked, and it was one of the better spears, actually, that we have in wrestling. But Camille takes down Thunder Rosa, and she is now the #1 contender to Serena Deeb's NWA Women's Championship. I'm looking forward to that match down the road. But Ness, what did you think about this one? As somebody who, as you said, like, you're a casual NWA person and you don't really know as much about Camille. So what were your thoughts just in general?
I actually enjoy this. This probably, all right, spoiler alert, this is probably my favorite match. This was that all right. I went the high road. I gave this 3 3/4 stars. Yeah, I'm somewhat familiar with Camille. I just know that she's the muscle for Nick Aldis, which is kind of ironic to say, but she, yeah, I really haven't seen her have a match before. This is probably my first time actually seeing her have a match, and I can definitely see she has some things to improve on, but for the most part, she did well. And her being the powerhouse type of female facing off against Thunder Rosa, who in my opinion, she's leading as the number one women's wrestler of 2021 so far. You know, she's just been having banger after banger, classic after classic, in multiple promotions at this point. So she's definitely in the lead, in my opinion. And this match was no different. You know, the styles clash again. Thunder Rosa with the way that she wrestles and her style. A little bit of lucha libre, a little bit of brawling, striking, going up against the powerhouse that is Camille. It made for a great match. And again, the fact that Thunder Rosa is such, a ring general at this point in her career, she is or was the proper person to be in the ring with Camille for her to, to show what she can do and to be made out to be that big powerhouse that she is, that big threat that she is. Also, clearly it's the best decision that they use Thunder Rosa, somebody credible, somebody, a former NWA Women's World Champion, to put over Camille to make her that much more seen as a threat. So I think everything just built up and played out so well for this match. Now, even coming down to the finish where they said that Camille hit her with two spears because not because she's cocky, but because she knows that Thunder Rosa is someone you can't take lightly. So she had to make sure that she put her away. So even this little subtleties like that make the storytelling that much better. So yeah, I went high on this match, 3 3/4 stars. This was definitely probably my favorite match of the night. Yeah, I'm not even saying probably.
This is also for me, and it was really great about it is that maybe I should have mentioned it earlier, but Tim Storm is on commentary, and when they have a moment where earlier, a couple, back when Power was airing before, they had a moment where Aldis fully turns on Tim Storm. And the moment happens because Camille nails Tim Storm with that spear. And that's why, like, there was a moment where they're talking about the spear, and they're like, you know how that feels, don't you, Tim? And Tim's like, yeah, no, I do. And that's like, it reinforces that the fact that she knew she had to hit two just shows how devastating one is, but also shows how resilient of an opponent Thunder Rosa is. And to your point, I mean, I don't know if this was I don't think this was live, but depending on when it was taped, either way, Thunder Rosa just had two banger matches in the span of a week, because this is the same week as her match against Britt Baker on AEW Dynamite. So immense kudos to Thunder Rosa.
And mentioned it on commentary too. I like that too. They're giving out props all over the place. So that was good on that part.
And that's one of the things that I like about what Billy Corgan has done with the partnership with AEW is that Thunder Rosa is an NWA like she's actually signed. She's one of the few people actually signed to the NWA. Serena Deeb is actually signed to AEW. He was willing to let a title change not only happen on non-NWA TV, but put the title on an AEW talent. This is we talk about the forbidden door being opened, but it didn't really start with Impact or New Japan. It actually started with the NWA and having Thunder Rosa come over to AEW and then having Serena Deeb win the NWA Women's Championship. So kudos to Billy Corgan for that thought process. We're still not sure why that the person who thought of that or agreed to that booked Tyrus, but you win some, you lose some. But speaking of winning some and losing some, we have another title match now. We have the NWA National Heavyweight Championship. This is Trevor Murdoch taking on Chris Adonis. Chris Masters, the Master Lock, is back. For those who had a moment, were like, whoa, is he still wrestling? Yes, he is. He is here. And this was, I got to say, the NWA National title is one of the titles that I like simply because of how unique it looks. Like, it actually looks like a real, like a belt, and it's got everything. Like, there's those little things that I like about having different designs and things like that for titles. But this is this is in a way a throwback match to old school WWE, or what we would consider old school WWE, because we have a Trevor Murdoch and Chris Masters taking on each other. This could have been on SmackDown back in the day.
Yeah, 2007.
But this was a good match. I gave this one about two and a quarter stars. What I liked about it was the hoss fight aspect of it. Even though Chris Adonis doesn't come across as a hoss in that sense, like in the same way that Trevor Murdoch does, they were hitting each other with some pretty stiff shots. And Trevor Murdoch he went through hell to kind of get that title. He had to go after Aron Stevens and really put the hurting on him to get the title in the first place. So to see him defend it well, really good. This was, in a sense, a cool-down match because of what we had just seen from the women's match, but they still managed to keep a little bit of intrigue, a little bit of spice in the match, because after the match ends, Murdoch is trying to show sportsmanship, and Adonis will shake his hand, but then when Murdoch goes to leave, Adonis clocks him from behind and starts beating up on him and puts him in the Master Lock. So I think we're going to be seeing some things continue there. I think it's safe to assume. But this was a pretty solid match for the point of coming down from what we had just seen with the women's match. Ness, what did you think?
Yeah, I think I give this match 2.25. It was fairly decent. I like the fact that, like you said, the post-match that leaves, again, that's another little subtlety that it leaves something open that they can continue this, which more than likely they will. The match itself, it was nice little back and forth action. Like you said, these guys were trading a lot of stiff shots. Chris Adonis, who, I haven't seen wrestle in quite some time. I know he has still been wrestling. I haven't seen him. He looked good in this match. And even Trevor Murdoch, man, that's somebody I literally probably have not seen wrestle probably since like the mid and late to 2000s, Like I haven't seen him probably since he was in WWE, to be completely honest. But even in this match, he looked even fairly decent as well. So both these guys went out there, they put on a good match, and two and a quarter, it was fairly decent. I wouldn't mind seeing where it goes from there, especially with the post match. And then Chris Adonis, he has to be that asshole, because he just plays that role so well. So it's always great.
Yeah.
And I also like that, again, on commentary, I think it was Tim Storm. He brings up the fact that Adonis is the master of the full Nelson, and then he said that there's only one person that has ever broken out of it, and that person is a world champion. Obviously, he's talking about Bobby Lashley. So I like the fact that he threw that little trivial subtlety in there, not only trying to big up on Chris Adonis, but also bigging up the move itself and bigging up the man that broke the Master Lock challenge. So that was all nice.
That's one thing that I do like about NWA is they find creative ways to mention companies that they can't really mention by name and mention people that they can't really mention by name. That's one thing that they do because NWA the NWA is not going to have the flippy shit. Like it's not going to have the lucha libre stuff that you love. Like it's that kind of hard hitting, more classic style of wrestling. I mean, after all, before he said some pretty racist shit, Jim Cornette was working with the NWA, and we know he's not going to work with promotions that he doesn't feel fit his kind of vision for what wrestling should be. But because of that, NWA acts as kind of a historian, a library of wrestling. And so they don't shy away from making the reference that need to be made. They just do it in a way that they're not going to get sued or anything like that for saying anything. And I can't blame them for that. But we are at our main event, and we've had the beginning of the show actually wasn't even that match. It wasn't even that fatal four-way. It was Nick Aldis coming out and cutting a promo and just talking about Jocephus and what he understands that Aron Stevens is going through. But he says that if you want to honor your friend, then I know how much you want to honor him. You got to bring your best. You got to bring your A game, because Nick Aldis is the dealer. He is the national treasure for a reason. When he beat Cody for the title, I think Cody held it for, I want to say 60 days or something to that effect after All In. So that was sometime in October or November of 2018. Since then, Aldis has been champion. 880 something days. Crazy. Nick Aldis has been the champion. And with the exception of the pandemic, he has defended that title regularly. And I don't mean on Power, just on an NWA show. Like, it has been on other shows. It has been in other countries. He's defended it in China. He has defended it in, I think, Japan for a promotion there. Anywhere that they want to book the NWA and book that NWA championship, he will go there and he will fight to defend the honor of Sweet Charlotte. That's why if the NWA were to lose all the contracts, the few contracts that they have for talent, the one person they will never let go of is Nick Aldis, because that man lives, breathes, sleeps the NWA. They've asked him, would you ever go to WWE? And he said probably not, because he knows how much he means to the NWA, how much of an important figure he is. And that's why every time he steps in the ring with that championship, it means something. Like we always talk about, the championship makes the man, or does the man make the championship? Like, it's who helps who. And Nick has helped that NWA title just as much as that NWA title helped him. Because when he originally got it, he was still coming off of being Magnus in Impact, in TNA, and being, I don't want to say a joke, but more of somebody who wasn't taken seriously. And he had that title unification match against AJ Styles, that ladder match where it was like Styles' last match with the company before he left to go to New Japan. But from that point on, he's been on an upwards trajectory. And I remember back during the True Heel Heat for the preview for All In, I was talking about how I was looking forward so much to Cody versus Nick Aldis, because Cody is probably my favorite wrestler on American soil. Nick Aldis is in probably my top 10, top 5. So these two guys coming together for that match, for that title, means a lot. And Nick Aldis, there was a great showing for him at All In, because it showed who he could be and it showed what he could do. He changed a lot of people's minds. And since then, he's been doing that to the point that him having an 800, almost 900-day reign, despite the pandemic, seems as though, well, yeah, he should. Who is going to be there to take it from him? And Aron Stevens says, for the memory of my dear friend, for the memory of this man that I loved, that I didn't even know I was supposed to love, but I met him, we got thrown into a tag team together, he became like a brother to me, I am going to try. And 21 minutes and 29 seconds, he tries. But Nick Aldis is the dealer for a reason. Nick Aldis triumphs over Aron Stevens to retain the NWA Worlds Heavyweight Championship. This is a really good match. I think if Camille and Thunder Rosa had been a little bit longer, that's what would have put that match over this one for me. I liked that one more just because of that one felt more fun, but this one had a sense of, I don't know, gravitas to me, like because of Jocephus's death, because of what Aron Stevens' motivations were, because this is the first time back and Nick Aldis is defending that title. It just had a certain weight to me. I gave this match, I gave Camille and Thunder Rosa 3 stars. This one was a 3.25 to 3.5 match for me. It just brought something a little bit different to me. The story of Aron Stevens trying so hard to find the weakness in the game of Nick Aldis. We had Austin Idol on commentary. He really didn't need to be there. It annoyed the shit out of me, actually, that he was there. But he brought up important salient points of Aron Stevens has to try to find a way to chip away at the armor of a man who seems impregnable. That you can't. All this seems unfazable, and it's for a reason. He finds ways to get out of everything, and eventually he does put Aron Stevens away. But 3.25 to 3.5 for me. Ness, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, I gave this match 3.5. Again, I definitely like the underlying story of Aron Stevens. Just like we spoke on Review of Honor, cheap plug. We had the episode with Eli Isom versus Ray Hoarders, and Eli Isom's backstory was he lost his mother, who was a wrestling fan, and he's continuing to be a wrestler for the honor of his mother. I got that type of vibe from this story. Again, the show surrounding being dedicated to Joseph Hudson, and that being the former tag team partner of Aron Stevens. So the life imitates art. They take the real life situation and put it into the main event. When you just think of Nick Aldis, like you said, that's an impregnable. Just you can't beat him, or you have to go to extreme lengths to even attempt to think about beating him. And that's pretty much what Aron Stevens did in this match. He took everything that Nick Aldis was throwing at him, and he threw a lot back. He wasn't going to go down without a fight. And this definitely was a fight. Both guys definitely showed up. It was a lot of hard-hitting action going on. But again, the underlying story was that Aron Stevens wanted to honor his friend. He wanted to come out with the victory, but Nick Aldis was just that much better. And at the end of the day, that Aron Stevens shouldn't be upset, because I'm sure with his performance that he made his friend proud. So 3.5. This definitely was one of the better matches on the card overall. And what a way to end the show, man. It was a great main event.
The only thing that I didn't like about this was that Austin Idol comes out and is talking about how he spoke to Aron Stevens, called him and was like this whole thing about what is Nick Aldis' weakness, and they bring up the fact that Aldis did the same thing with Idol talking about Tim Storm, and that's how, or that played a factor into why Nick was able to beat Tim Storm. And there just was not any actual connection between what Idol was saying and what was happening in the ring. Like, I didn't, like, at least to me, I don't know if you felt like that, but they just did not feel at all that that there was this magical weakness that Idol had told Stevens about and Aron Stevens is using. But one thing that I do want to add is that the same way that I was talking about the trajectory of Magnus Nick Aldis, it takes two to tango. And I don't know if we thought we would ever see something like this from Damian Sandow. I mean,
Hell.
that's that is not how Damian Sandow was presented to us in WWE. Eventually, especially when he became Damian Mizdow. And this is a guy who I mean, they protected Cena when Cena cashed in Money in the Bank and failed because it was a disqualification. It wasn't his fault. He didn't actually lose the match. He didn't get pinned. But when Aron Stevens, Damian Sandow, attempted to cash in Money in the Bank on Cena for the world title, he actually lost the match. He was the first person to lose by pinfall for a cash-in. Cena was the first person to lose, but it was a disqualification. The way that WWE presents people sometimes, we get a certain view of them. And that's kind of something that we see throughout this entire pay-per-view. We have an idea of what Pope should be like because that's how he was presented. The same with Trevor Murdoch, the same with Chris Adonis. But we see when you let people do what they love to do, how they love to do it, the magic that they can make. And Aron Stevens, I completely agree with you 100%. I think Joseph Hudson watched that, like, just wherever he is, saw that match and was like, my guy nailed it. My guy nailed it out of the park. So, guys, we're coming to a close. We're going to do our the normal True Heel Heat thing of picking our MVP, LVP. I think we are going to be agreed on LVP. We're gonna pick our match of the night and give you our overall thumbs up, thumbs down. So we'll start with we'll just get LVP out of the way. Tyrus. We'll just get that one out of the way. Tyrus for both of us. MVP. I am going to go. See, this one's tough because a part of me wants to go with Thunder Rosa for how she put over Camille. A part of me wants to go for Nick, and a part of me wants to go with Aron Stevens. But I'm gonna go with Aron Stevens because of how much the emotional weight of the night was for him. And some people crack under that pressure. He did not. He hit everything he was supposed to hit and do everything he was supposed to do. So I'm going to give him my MVP.
Yeah, my MVP is going to go to Thunder Rosa, but I'm going to have an honorable mention in Aron Stevens just for everything you just said. That's definitely, it's a lot, man, to deal with things of that nature when you have someone close to you and you lose them, and then you have to go out and be professional and perform in the, at the end of the day, because, that saying is the show must go on, but it's still, it takes a toll on someone, and it didn't show in that match whatsoever that, he could have been, emotionally broken down and things of that nature. So he definitely gets an honorable mention. But yeah, my MVP goes to Thunder Rosa for that awesome match against Camille.
Yeah, and we'll do our match of the night. For me, I'm going with Camille Thunder Rosa. I just liked the match more ultimately than the main event. The main event had that main event feel to me, but the Camille Thunder Rosa match it felt more fun to me, and that's why that'll be my match of the night.
Mine as well. I already spoiled that when I was, but yeah, that's my match of the night as well.
So alrighty, we'll do thumbs in the middle, and on 3, 2, 1. Yeah, I think this was a good showing for the NWA. It was a good one for them to come back with, back for the attack. And I like how they brought that up during the intro. They said this isn't a reboot. We are just back. And that's something that's important. They're carrying on the tradition of what they wanted Power to be. And, guys, before we really forget, the goal of putting Power on YouTube for free was to do it as a proof of concept, was to show that people will watch the NWA and will tune in regularly. And because of that, that is the reason why now that Power is returning, they are on the Fight Network. And we now have to, you got to pay for it. I get that. But the whole point of having Powerrr in the first place, because Billy Corgan was fine just doing was fine just having Nick Aldis go to different shows and having the women's championship with Allison Kay at the time go to different shows. He was perfectly fine doing that, but he said if we're going to try to aim for a weekly show, let's show people the fact that the NWA still has a lot left in the tank. And now they had to do that all over again with this pay-per-view, and I think they nailed it. So I'm going to give this pay-per-view, on the whole, I give this one, I would say like a 7 out of 10 for me. Ness, what about you?
Also, yeah, that was right there. I gave it a 7 out of 10 as well. It was for, what was it, like 5-6 matches, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
But it's as quote unquote small or light as the show might have been. Outside of fucking tires, everybody delivered. So they showed up and showed out. I can't fault them for that. I think it was just, I think 7's a good rating for this.
Yeah, it's a great way to get everything back on track for NWA. I mean, if it wasn't for Powerrr, and that's the other thing, if it wasn't for NWA Powerrr, there are people who we now celebrate on Dynamite who would not have had the exposure necessary. People like Eddie Kingston, as much as Eddie Kingston's career is storied, he would not have had that last bit of a hump that somebody was watching Powerrr to say, we should bring that guy in. And then the pandemic happened, so they have the ability to do so. And we would not have had Ricky Starks. Yeah. So NWA Powerrr has done a lot for people's careers, and I'm very interested to see who are going to be the next people that they build up. Obviously, they have to go with Chris from Queens, Slice Boogie, because who else could you possibly want to go with? But guys, thank you so much for tuning in. This has been the review of Back for the Attack. Ness, tell the people where they can find you, sir.
You guys can follow me on Instagram at skinny__Kravitz. You can follow me on Twitter at skinny_Kravitz. And you catch me on the True Hill Heat YouTube channel. I am one half of Review of Honor with my man StatKing, the man of 1,004 numbers, where we review everything that goes on in the Ring of Honor ring. I am also one half of the Pod Heels. Catch me on Blunt Impact and Joints and Jabronis with my man Chris G, a.k.a. Slice Boogie. I have never seen these guys in the same room. At this point, Chris G is Slice Boogie. Roundtable Rebel. Catch me on the roundtables. And as always, you can hear my illustrious voice on True Toxicity.
And guys, you can catch me on Facebook, getting into this wonderful discussions with all of you, and tagging Ness on things that involve Dak Draper because he hates Dak Draper now. And you can catch me on Dark Powerrr, covering AEW Dark Elevation, MLW Fusion, and this week, NWA Powerrr. We are back. We are back for the attack. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Until next time, take care of yourselves, take care of each other. Peace.